10 races, 1 championship. Who will it be? The 2008 chase for the Sprint Cup is officially underway.
Kyle Busch is the one that looks like he's still struggling with his race car.
Something broke. I think the sway bar just come unhooked.
Yeah, wow, he's just out of control there.
Robbie Gordon getting kind of hangs the tail out, and Jeff Gordon actually has to back up.
Tell them the next time I'm just knocking them off the jack.
Hard contact, 17, Matt Kenseth. How hungry is Greg Biffle? 33 races since Greg Biffle has gone to victory lane. Race number 1 in the Chase's history, and Greg Biffle wins it.
Get a man, Beff, get a man. Woo!
The Biff, Greg Biffle, was the last man standing at New Hampshire after round 1 in NASCAR's version of the playoffs. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. The biggest loser in Loudon, Kyle Busch, 34th place finish, back 7 spots. Clint Boyer back 4. But again, the big winner on the track and off, Greg Biffle up 6 positions. Winning a championship is all about peaking at the right time, and Greg Biffle seems to be doing just that. With more, here's Mike Massaro.
Well, you're absolutely right, Doc. He's peaking at the right time. You remember the discussions, people talking about favorites before the chase began? Did anybody include Greg Biffle? Absolutely not, but that's all changed. He's no longer being overlooked after his dramatic win a week ago in New Hampshire. The question now is, can he maintain that momentum? You think back to Dover back in June. He led a race-high 164 laps. Still, they opted to bring a different car this time around. This is their Darlington race car, and already it's showing signs of speed. They were 5th fastest in practice this morning, and that bodes well for them when it comes to qualifying. They should be able to qualify up front, which could help them avoid what has become a chronic problem here at Dover, their version of the big one.
The big one at Dover.
The concrete canyon. When you get in trouble here, buddy, it's big trouble.
Come on, everybody, come down low. Straight through.
It's scary to race here.
Check up, check up, check up.
It's like a bad roller coaster ride. They just keep wrecking over here.
A melee.
That's Dover's version of the big one right there. Just nowhere to go at this racetrack when there's trouble in front of you.
And the 11-car pileup that took place last June was no exception. Now, 5 drivers who find themselves in the chase now were involved in that big one. You have, of course, Clint Boyer, Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Kevin Harvick all involved. What did they have in common? Well, they didn't have the best of qualifying efforts. They all started 22nd or worse. They ended their day 35th or worse. Some of those finishes being the worst of the season. So the moral of the story, qualifying is important here at Dover. You want to start up front and avoid that big one. We'll be following those stories and much more coming up on NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying.
We welcome you live to our ESPN coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying from the Monster Mile, Dover International Speedway here in Dover, Delaware. Well, who among the chasers is the man when it comes to attacking the monster? Take a look at the average finishes there. Carl Edwards has finished in the top 3 the last 4 times he's been here, but he has 1 win. In terms of total wins, Jimmy Johnson has won 3 times, and Jeff Gordon, the overall among active drivers, win leader with 4 wins here at Dover. Hello, everyone. Along with Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us here at Dover, Delaware. Guys, if you look at the practice sessions, you see that it was the guys that have won the most races here. It was Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, 1, 2 in practice. Now, among those guys, what is the key to getting a good setup and turning a good lap driving driver-wise and qualifying here?
Well, one of the big keys is getting out of the pits and up to speed, getting through turns 3 and 4 and off of 4 with the most speed that you possibly can, not getting out of the throttle there. And then your entrance to turn 1 is of utmost importance. You have to get down in there, not drive the car in too far. You have to get in deep, but not too far and get the car upset. Getting it loose there can kill your lap time.
And it's up to the crew to get the car to do that. That's the problem. You got to get that car where he can run it flat-footed off the corner to come to the green and not be loose get into turn 1. You heard Dale say you got to be good into turn 1. If you get loose get in turn 1, it'll kill your lap here. You can be a little tight and still run a decent lap here, but if you get loose in turn 1, you've kind of blown the whole lap.
The monster can bite you on race day. It can also bite you on qualifying day here. It can reach out and grab you in a hurry. We've got lots of action to come your way. Take a look at our motorsports calendar. Coming up next, NASCAR NASCAR Now. It'll update what happened in qualifying, talking about what's going to happen tomorrow in practice. NASCAR Nationwide Series at Dover, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, live flag-to-flag coverage. And 6 o'clock Eastern Time, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series happy hour. NHRA action from Dallas tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the evening. NASCAR Now on ESPN2 Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and then live flag-to-flag coverage round 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on ABC Sunday 1 o'clock Eastern Time. NASCAR from Dover presented by Principal Financial Group. Back with qualifying in just a moment. Six cars lined up and getting set for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series pole qualifying at Dover, Delaware. We told you the beginning of the chase disappointing for a couple of drivers, including points leader Kyle Busch, who thought he would have so much momentum coming to round 2, but that was not the case at New Hampshire.
You know, here today we don't have the best of cars. Don't know whether it's me or the car or both or what.
Battle for the lead here, Carl's inside of Busch.
You see Jimmy Johnson trying to make the pass on Kyle Busch, who continues to fall back.
He has lost 19 positions in 25 laps.
Something broke. I think the sway bar just come unhooked. Open the hood, guys. Water.
Yeah, wow, he's just out of control there.
Oh, now he got it. Oh, man.
Yo, no. You get it off. As I watch the field pull away. Made up 8 spots hanging in there, buddy. Sorry about that. We'll get to the bottom of it.
34th place finish. They dropped 7 spots, and I guess the key is now how do you rebound? As a crew chief, if you're Steve Addington, Andy Petrie, what do you do? How do you bring that crew back knowing that that was a very costly miscue?
It was a big mistake, and what they'll do, they'll go back and Steve will talk to these guys and say, look, we have got probably one of the best drivers in this deal. We just need to make a bulletproof race car. We've got great performance. All we need to do is make sure that he's got something to work with. And if you have a mistake or you break apart, you really can't take advantage of that driver's talent. So he's just going to go back and rally these guys. They've done a lot of great things this year. So one little mistake, I don't think he's going to hurt. It's going to hurt them too much if they can get back on another roll.
Yeah, from the driver's side of it, Kyle Busch, this is a confident young man. We've seen that all along, and I don't think it's going to take him very long to get over something like this. He only has to look back to here in June. He won the race right here, so he's thinking, hey, I can make this back up just by going there and dominating that race.
And the guy who dominated the race here in June and won the pole, and by the way, won last week at New Hampshire, standing by with Mike.
Yeah, I would imagine he's having a pretty special week. What'd that win do for you?
Man, it gave us a lot of confidence. I'll tell you, the team just feels so good. We worked really hard this season, and it all came together at Loudon. We were really focused. We made the chase. The guys are fired up. We're ready to give it all we can, and it was something to get in victory lane. The first chase race, that was pretty awesome.
It does look like everything's coming together. On paper, it looks like you'd be able to keep this momentum going. Will history repeat itself? Can you do what you did here in June?
I hope so. This 3 and 4 Fusion car is running really, really fast. It was super fast in race trim. And qualifying, we only got to make 1 lap. I was a little tight in 1 and 2, so we freed it up for this session here. Usually this early draw won't help us, but they've got a lot of cloud cover here, so hopefully the temperature won't change that much. We might have a chance to sit on the pole like we did in the spring.
And that would certainly be a boost to their confidence even further, Doc, as they really try to reel in the leaders right now this weekend.
Thanks, Mike. A pole in the spring. He led 3 times for 164 laps and finished 3rd in the race behind Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards. How does the momentum switch so quickly? You struggle all year, as Greg Biffle talked about, trying to win a race, and suddenly the chase begins and you're like the car to beat.
That's hard to figure out, Doc. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And these other guys are the ones that dictate it. The other 42 guys who you're racing, and finally you hit on something. We did that with Harry Gant one time in 1991, and we couldn't be beat. And you look back on it, we couldn't figure out why that was, but it just works out that way.
It does, and I think that if you asked Greg Irwin and Greg Biffle, they'll probably tell you that, hey, we were working on this. We weren't sure exactly when it was going to happen for us, that everything would come together. And, if you look back, you could see that it was kind of building and they were getting to that point. They had run well in some races, and then their pit crew was kind of off a little bit. And then they got the pit crew to going, and then they continued to run good. So you could kind of see this happening, and boy, it couldn't have come at a more perfect time.
And look at how the stars have lined up. I mean, they win at New Hampshire. He was the pole sitter here, led the most laps back in May. And last year at Kansas City, he won the race, which is where we go next. So it looks like a pretty good, could be a very good beginning for the Biff here in the 2008 chase. first qualifier. Paul Menard flips the switch and heads onto the racetrack.
That's a pretty good shot on how they start these things up and get going.
That's right.
That's what makes this qualifying deal so much different than a lot of different formats and different forms of racing. They tap that fender. You've got basically here, you got really one lap to get it done. You got two, but really you got to get it done in one lap. And that's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. And I'll tell you one thing, these guys, everyone that I talked to, and I talked to a lot of the drivers after practice today, they were all so excited about this new right side tire. They're going to be able to go out there, and that speed that we were talking about, carrying down into turns 3 and 4 that first lap, and then down into turn 1, they're able to get that because they have a great feel of the race car now. They said it's back like the old car, and they were all excited about that.
They tested here earlier in the month with Bobby Labonte and Mark Martin, both of which were raving about what Goodyear had done with that right side tire. Same left side, but boy, what a difference those two right ones make.
Yeah, give them a little time and get to know this race car and start developing something just for this car. You're going to see a lot better performance out of the tire and the car.
Paul Menard's first lap is just a little bit slower than what he ran in practice, about a 1/10 of a second. He may be able to pick it up here on the second lap. We really don't know. I think talking to most guys, they thought that their first lap was going to be the quickest of the two, but that may not be the case. We'll see here with Paul if that's going to be a trend.
It looks like he's a little slower the second lap. So far the trend is the first lap. If you can say it's a trend after one car.
After one, yeah.
Yeah, we watched in practice, and it seemed like that's the way it was. If you got a really good lap the first lap, you couldn't hardly improve on it.
Next driver to go out will be our points leader. For the first time in his career, Carl Edwards sits atop, or actually he's tied for the top of the point standings with Jimmy Johnson. And there's his career, Concrete Carl. How good has he been? Well, remember he won this race last September.
Yeah, that's an incredible record. Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, he's great everywhere that he goes, but the record that he has, whether it's in the Nationwide Series or in these Cup cars, he just loves this, the feel that he gets on the concrete racetracks.
How do the concrete tracks feel different to the driver?
I just always found that you never did feel like that you were totally into the racetrack. It was just hard to get the radial tire to where you felt like that you were in the track and that you had total control of the car all the time. Carl puts in a lap at 23.23 seconds, and
a 10th off his practice time.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see. I think things have heated up a little bit since then. Plus, there's been another practice session, and that's always making a little bit more rubber, which I think will make this racetrack probably slow down just a little bit. A lot of places we go, you see it getting black. That's not necessarily the case, but I believe it does hurt it a little bit here.
See, our tracker shows he's going to be a little slower, and he was. Second lap was a 10th off the first lap.
2 cars have gone, still 44 to go. Carl Edwards atop the speed charts right now at Dover. Back at Dover, Delaware, David Rudeman on the track and on track possibly to have a pole run for his UPS Toyota. Rudeman was 6th fastest in the practice session, and right now he takes that car to the top of the charts.
Yeah, he's the first one to really pick up any significant time on his second lap. He picked up about 6/100ths of a second, and that puts him just ahead of Carl Edwards. Still a little slower than he ran in practice, but that's kind of been what we've seen with everybody.
A moment ago, Bobby Labonte had gone out. He's talking to Carl Edwards, and Bobby, of course, the 1999 winner here, driving the 43 car, went out and he turned a lap at 23.83, and that will put him 4th of the 4 cars that have gone out thus far. 2-time Cup champion Jimmy Johnson out to see if he can better the lap that Rudeman just clocked away at 23.19.
These guys put a lot of emphasis on this qualifying lap because of the pit road pick that you get based on qualifying. So far, so good. He's dipping just into the red, getting into 3. He's right there on the line, though.
He ran a 23.08 in practice. He was the 2nd quickest car overall.
Just misses it there by a few hundredths.
Yeah, he had him. Looks like I don't know if he had to squeeze out of the throttle or just turn the wheel a little too much out of turn 4 because he had him till that point.
And he's in the green again on the second lap, but loses just a little bit getting into 3. Yeah, the turn 4 just kind of looks like it's getting him just a little bit.
I think and he's not going to quite get there again. But you can see, I think a good indication is just how good David Rudeman got off of turn 2 and turn 4. That's where these guys were having a hard time, or as we saw Jimmy Johnson there, where he was getting beat just a little bit by the 44 UPS Toyota of David Rudeman.
Let's visit with Carl. Jamie.
Well, Carl Edwards third right now. He's not looking too sure. You're watching the board, watching the other runs. Carl, what'd you think your run?
It was close. It was close to the best lap I could run. It's a little bit slower than I thought. I thought we'd run 23 flats, but you know, especially with the clouds, you know, but close. Jimmy barely got me there, and I think it's just going to be a really tight field. You know, I think any little bit you can get will help. But the guys did a really good job. It's just this track changes a little bit from practice, and you just got to do your best to keep up with it.
It's a tight field. Talk about points. First time in your career, you're on top of the leaderboard. What's your week been like knowing that?
Oh, it's been good. It's the second time. After Vegas, we were on the top till Tuesday morning when they gave us our penalty. But
so technically, first time now, right?
We're legitimate right now. We're good. So we'll hang on to it as long as we can. You know, we got 9 weeks left, and I feel like this car is really, really good in race trim. We'll know for sure tomorrow. But we ran a couple runs today, and you know, Biffle was real fast, and this car was real fast. So you never know. It could be great.
All right, guys. He was our winner 1 year ago.
Jamie, Juan Pablo Montoya, the birthday boy who turns 33 tomorrow, trying to get Big Red in the field. Struggled with a tight race car in New Hampshire last week, brought it home in 17th position. He is currently 5th of the 6 cars that have gone out.
Yeah, all of these guys have slowed down for practice. I think that's a real surprise to them. Even though you can get a lot out of these cars in practice, I think most of them expect to come out here and go just a little bit faster whenever you get all the qualifying trim on them, Andy.
Yeah, you do. You tend to go a little quicker than you do in practice when you qualify because you do put a little extra effort in it. But sometimes these track conditions can turn on you. They just had a practice session for the Nationwide Series just before this qualifying took place. It may have changed the racetrack just a little bit.
I was talking to Greg Biffle in between the session and qualifying, and he was telling me that he wasn't sure. He did a lot of race stuff, and he wasn't sure as this track started to get blacker and rubber in it that how good his front end was going to turn because it was turning awful good. So that might be something that they're seeing here right now, that they're just having to put a little bit more input into the steering.
While you watch Scott Riggs, let's check in with one of the local favorites with Mike.
Yeah, he grew up about 2.5 hours from here in Manhattan, New Jersey, of course, talking about Martin Truex Jr. It's been a pretty good racetrack for you, but you said something pretty interesting to me. You don't feel like you really get comfortable until happy hour. Why is that?
I just like the track a lot better when it gets good and rubbered up and the time slow down a little bit. That seems to be when we're able to get our car to where I want it. So we were pretty good today. Fairly fast for us today on a Friday. So looking forward to it. We made some adjustments. Hopefully we'll have a shot at getting up in the top 5.
During practice, I heard you and Kevin Mannion talking about the tires. What have you learned about the tire this weekend?
Well, the tires have a lot of grip, which typically makes you think they're just soft and they're going to wear out. But every time we go out on the racetrack, we go just as fast or faster. So we're just trying to make sure that we were on the right tires for qualifying. We decided to go on stickers, which I'm sure everyone has, but it's kind of weird how the tires don't slow down and they're fast. So Goodyear's brought a great tire. I think it's going to be great for the racing this weekend.
That's great analysis, Doc, and you'll hear more of it from Martin Truex Jr. as the weekend wears on. He's our in-race reporter.
Mike, if the folks at home would like to ask him a question, you can log on to ESPN.com, keyword Ask the Driver, and maybe get your question selected to be asked by Dale Jarrett on Sunday during the race pace laps, as he will be, as you said, our in-race reporter. Well, here's the Biff. Greg Biffle, pole sitter back in the spring here, winner a week ago.
He's in the green. Going to have a new pole man here. Oh, yeah, 23:11. That's a good lap. It's actually just a hair off of his practice time.
He's the first one that's gotten that close to his practice time. I mean, he's literally less than 100th of a second off of what he ran in practice.
He's going for more here. He might get another 10th out of this thing.
Even better this time by.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And 03, that picked it up from practice.
Greg Biffle continues to stay at the top of the heap, even in qualifying at Dover. NASCAR Sprint Cup pole qualifying continuing. Great run by Travis Kvapil, 3rd overall.
He actually picked his time up from practice also. I don't know, maybe if the racetrack's coming around a little bit, but the last 2 guys have actually picked up from practice.
Casey Mears on the racetrack. Had his best run here back in the spring. He is 6th overall. The Hendrick cars now very good in practice and backing it up in qualifying. Let's go down to Jamie.
Well, Doc, you remember back to our last 1 mile oval 2 weeks ago at Richmond. This man right here tied his career best finish of 9th. So after your qualifying run, how do you feel about your chances here?
The car, the EPS Toyota was pretty good in race trim when we unloaded, and then we only got 2 qualifying runs at the end, and I don't know. Every time I think we're really, really good, we're not. So, but I'm pretty optimistic. Brian Ferman and the guys are doing a great job, and this is another one of our new cars, and it's been a godsend for sure. So we'll keep plugging away at it, see if we can get a good win.
Well, it's been shown on the track, Doc. He has 3 top 15 finishes in his last 3 races.
He led 104 laps in Richmond and came so close. That team's really gotten pumped up. Whoa, David Gilliland has his hands full coming out of 4. You guys talking about hanging on here when you qualify the cars on the concrete at Dover.
And he put it up there in second spot so far.
Yeah, that didn't seem to bother him on the exit there. I think he's going to be a little slower, but I think he used up all of his tires on that first lap.
Yeah, I think he got the good out of him coming to the white flag. You can see him laying black marks down there.
How big could this be for Doug Yates' racing team? Doug Yates and those guys are working so hard to get these teams organized and set for 2009. Great run by David Gilliland, second overall of the 11 cars that have gone. Jamie.
And Greg Biffle talking right now, getting a little drink. So pole so far, do you think it's good enough to hold up to the end?
Man, I don't think so. Just purely the fact that I screwed the first lap up a little bit. I had to wait on the gas because I got it too loose over there in 1 and 2, and just getting greedy. And I told the guys I think I could go run in the 20, down in the 22s, and I tried and tried for too much on the first lap. So made it up on the second lap a little bit, but we'll just wait and see. That's really cooling off fast with this cloud cover. So early draw, but we'll see what happens.
Greg, you won the first race of the chase. What has that done for you and for this team looking forward to 9 left?
Well, I certainly was prepared for the chase, and I was ready for New Hampshire, and I'm ready for Dover, but it just gave the team a lot of momentum. And I can't say enough about how hard these guys are working. What kind of cars they're giving me right now, I just got to hold up my end of the bargain behind the wheel.
All right, that's Greg Biffle, his crew chief, Greg Irwin, first ever chase race, and he wins it, Doc. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Jamie Elliott Sadler, 7 top 10 starts in 2008, qualified in the top 10 in the spring, and is flirting with it, or was a moment ago, with getting in the front row. He is 3rd overall in his first time by.
It's one of Elliott's best racetracks for qualifying, it seems like. He's always up there.
Elliott Sadler's lap will put him 3rd quickest of the 12 cars that have gone to qualify. Back in just a moment. Matt Kenseth on the clocks at a track that he's had a lot of firsts at. His first Cup start came here in '98. His first Cup pole came here in 2002. Close to getting his second pole here. First another pole here as he is 3rd overall.
He had a pole contending run going there till the exit of turn 4, and Greg Biffle apparently got off of there really well. But how about these Fords up front right now? 1st, 2nd, and 3rd on the chart.
Yeah, looking good so far. Matt's going to slow down the second lap, but still 3rd. That's a pretty good lap for Matt.
Coming off a disappointing 40th place finish at New Hampshire, where he is 12th in the chase, 177 points behind Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson. A moment ago, the 41 car, Reed Sorensen, out for his qualifying effort. Reed clocked in a 23.525 second lap, his first lap of the 2 with the quickest. He is 13th of the 14 cars that have run. Tomorrow night, ABC Sports, no Sean Marino, and the Georgia Bulldogs look to remain unbeaten against Rudy Carpenter and the Arizona State Sun Devils. The big question, how will Georgia's ground attack respond in the hostile environment? Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines on ABC tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Jamie McMurray, next car on the clock, and if you look at Jamie's stats and you go talk to him, he'll tell you this is probably his 2nd best racetrack of all on the tour. He's run very well here in the past.
Yeah, he's running well here in the past, and he also was fast in practice earlier. He had a good lap going there. Fell off a little bit, even though he ends up 5th quickest. He's going to try his 2nd lap, but
see a little sun on the racetrack right now we didn't see earlier.
I think that's going to make a difference here. That it tends to really change this track surface as you get that sunlight on it.
See if Jamie can pick up this 2nd lap and get it into the top 3 or 4. He's 5th after first time by, and
too tight in the middle. You going any quicker? Sorry.
But he did pick it up to 4th quickest. And let's go down and visit with the 4-time winner here, Mike.
And a guy who certainly has a shot at the pole. He was fastest overall in practice this morning, Jeff Gordon, but heard you say it was a little edgy on the gas. Did you get that out of the car?
Yeah, we did. There at the end, the car just felt awesome. So pretty excited about this run we got coming up with the DuPont Chevrolet, and hopefully we get back up what we ran in practice. That was a little bit faster than what Greg's run right now. I think he was on the pole last time we were here, and that's a great lap he's got up there, and we can do it today. Well, we got a shot at it, but we're going to have to do everything right.
We just talked to Martin Truex Jr. about the tires and how they're reacting this week. Saw a lot of guys during practice switching from scuffs to stickers. What have you learned about the tires?
We only made qualifying runs. We didn't do any race runs. Saw some of the things our teammates did there, but you know, just the fact that some guys are running faster in the second lap versus their first lap says something about it. But it's got a little bit more grip, which we heard coming in. Looks like it's laying down rubber, so looks like it's doing everything that Goodyear's wanting it to do right now.
Jeff Gordon, certainly a guy who knows what he wants in a race car here at Dover. He has 4 wins at the Monster Mile.
And 3 poles. Now, Michael Waltrip on the clock really charged that first lap.
Yeah, he went after it. Yeah, he got down into turn 1. You could see that car wiggle, and usually when you do that, you just have to wait, kind of catch up on the steering at that point.
Yeah, but you never can catch up on the lap time. That's the problem here. He's the 15th out of 16 cars that have gone.
This is such a fun qualifying lap. Always look forward to coming here. I mean, it's literally like if you think of your most fun roller coaster that you get on, that's kind of what you get here, because as you go off into turn 1, you know, over 170 miles an hour, it's just like the racetrack all of a sudden drops out from underneath you. And then you wait on the car to land, and then you dive back in the gas and you drive it. Literally, you want to be wide open. As we see Martin Truex on the track here, and this is a racetrack that Martin Truex loves to do well at. His home racetrack, as he considers it, and has run well here. Obviously, one race here last year.
He was talking about Fridays usually aren't that good for this race team here. They don't usually qualify that well, but they come alive once the practice starts and the race starts. And he's got a pretty good qualifying lap going right here.
Mentioned he's about 2 hours away, Marietta, New Jersey. Had a big Martin Truex Foundation golf tournament there yesterday, raising money for the Ocean of Love program to help children and families battling life-threatening illnesses. So trying to give back. He would like to take one away here in qualifying. In the top 10 in practice. Oh, a bit of a bobble there coming off.
Yeah, that's what's so fun is you get back in there and you're trying so hard to keep that foot down off the corner, and you're just not sure if the front end's going to stick good enough or if the back end's going to kick out just off the corner. It's, again, what makes it exciting.
Currently 8th overall for Truex, and he'll have a pretty good starting spot. Probably should hold up for the top 15. All about consistency to be able to win a championship. And look at the last 5 races for Matt Kenseth. The frustration you see there, finished points position, DNF'd at New Hampshire. That was 40th on the grid, and he held on to the 12th spot. But he could move up after the way he's been running all weekend. Jamie.
Yeah, so far so good. You remember at this racetrack 1 year ago, this guy started 10th. He led 192 laps more than anybody else, but it was an engine failure that eventually ended your day 35th. How's the car today, Matt?
I've been pretty happy with it. Yeah, we need to work on leading that last lap, but overall I've been pretty happy with it. Chip wanted to tighten it up a little more for qualifying. I sort of talked him out of it, so I guess I should have listened to him, but I just tried a little too hard. I felt like I got into 3 probably a little hard and got the car a little loose and couldn't quite run what Greg run, but overall I'm really happy with the car so far this weekend, so hopefully we can do better than we have been.
How important is it to start up front or the top 10, top 15 here at Dover?
Well, I mean, it's nice to start up front everywhere. It is kind of hard to pass, you know, and track position's real important here, but yet it is a real wide track. It's a really fun track to race on, and but track position's going to be important. You want to be out front.
Matt Kenseth had a lot of fun here back in 2006, Doc, when he took the win.
Would love to be able to bounce back this week and duplicate that performance of a year ago. David Reagan, 11th overall of the 18 cars that are going out to qualify.
It's a good lap, but it's not up to the standards of his teammates that have been out there so far.
He was the winner of our trivia question last week when we asked people our crew chief challenge who we thought that didn't make the chase this year would make it in 2009. He got the most votes, so nice little attaboy. Pat on the back for David Reagan and that team.
Yeah, he proved he was a worthy contender. He almost made it this year.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. led 79 laps at New Hampshire last week. Back-to-back top 5 finishes now at Richmond and New Hampshire. Maybe some momentum headed their way. Let's see what he can do in qualifying.
He's got something going here.
Well, you could see he carried a lot of speed off of turn 2, got down into 3 a little bit. Was a little bit late, maybe picking the throttle up.
And it cost him just a little bit here on the exit. Still a pretty good lap, fifth quick.
And he's just going to run 1.
P5.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and catch his breath now. So that for a second.
He finished 35th here in the spring. He was a part of that melee that Jamie was talking about here on lap 18 when those 10 cars got together. Sort of a tale of two seasons for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Before the Michigan win and afterwards, they have struggled. They went 8 races without even a top 10 finish in the last 3 weeks, so they are starting to get back into their groove.
Yeah, they need to get this thing turned around because they had some performance earlier in the year that would make them a contender for this chase. And if they can get that back, they'll be a contender.
Robbie Gordon on the clocks, trying to get his Dodge qualified in the top 10.
Robbie hung on in the top 35 of the points just barely last week after A.J. Allmendinger and his 84 machine got in some trouble late in that race, and that allowed Robbie to move back into the top 35. So he is locked in for the race. I know he'd like to get a good starting spot, but not the lap that he was looking for right here.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, he was 40th quick in practice, and this lap here is only 19th out of 20 cars, so they're still struggling quite a bit.
Just joined our coverage. Greg Biffle currently is the pole sitter. He had 20 cars that have gone thus far. There are 46 cars here.
You can see Robbie chase the car up the racetrack that in turn 3. It looked like the splitter probably hit there, and then that's what made him have to chase the car. And when it does that, it just literally can lift the front end off the ground, and you can't get the front end to turn. That's a real challenge here at this racetrack, too, because it has so much banking. And like you said, you kind of lose the racetrack getting in the corner, then you pick it back up once you get there. You kind of land, and a lot of lows to control there with those bump stops.
Next car to make an attempt to qualify following Robbie Gordon's effort would be Jeff Burton, who typically doesn't qualify well here, but that says nothing about what's going to happen on race day. He won the chase race here 2 years ago. Back in the spring, he started 38th and finished 8th. And in practice, he was 39.
You know, it gets me about him is he doesn't really seem to worry about qualifying. He's out there trying to do the best he can. He'd love to start up front, but when he doesn't, it doesn't bother him a bit.
No, this might be one of his best sets. Although he's losing some time off of turn 4. He lost right in the middle of the corner there, getting back to the throttle, but a pretty decent lap for him. It's actually 11th quickest. So he's going to start further up than what he did here in June. But as you said, he doesn't really seem to matter. He's the master when it comes to starting back there and finding his way into the top 10.
Just so patient as a race car driver and meticulous the way he picks cars off, and he's there at the finish.
See, this lap's going to be just a little slower than his first lap. You see how it's tracking the leader and his first lap.
Burton will be 11th of the 21 cars that have gone. When we come back, Jeff Gordon, who was fastest in practice. Qualifying ongoing at Dover, Delaware. 0-1 leading Rookie of the Year contender Regan Smith qualifying 14th. Not a bad run for him. And other drivers that are just getting their careers in gear here in NASCAR Sprint Cup. Michael McDowell 15th. Right together, but a driver who's been almost unbeaten, the last man standing.
It's the hard knocks, it's the long shots, it's believing in yourself when you're all you got. You don't turn back, you don't give in. Rising up to see the last man standing.
It took him over 200 laps, but he's back in front.
There's nobody in this sport who's better at being patiently aggressive than Jeff Gordon.
Oh, they're going to have a shot. I mean, this is a championship driver right here.
The championship's everything. You win one, it just makes you that much hungrier to want to win another one.
Jeff Gordon, could he be on a pole run? Could he snap a 32-race winless streak? We'll see what's going to happen here.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it by a lot. 22.92. That's a great lap.
And he knew it.
That'll do it. Good job. 180 water.
He didn't even let the water temp get up before he finished. That didn't even heat it up. Didn't need that happening.
I'd say
what a great run.
That 24 bunch is serious.
This might be the turning point for this team.
In his 4th chase, he missed the chase in 2005. 31 starts, a couple of wins, 15 top 5 finishes. Had a great chase a year ago. The only problem was his teammate Jimmy Johnson had just a little bit better chase than what he had, or else he'd be looking at his 5th championship.
Now, I guarantee you, if he goes on to win the pole, which spot he's going to pick in the pits, that'll be first, where he doesn't have anybody in front of him this week.
And they're all fighting for that spot. I mean, they really want to have that first pit right there at the exit. This pit road is extremely narrow and dangerous. You see a lot of incidents on this pit road.
Yeah, sure do. Just not much room out there.
Denny Hamlin's not had the best of luck here. The last 2 times he's been to Dover, Delaware. Back in the spring, he finished 43rd, involved in an accident. And last fall, well, he was involved in a little pushing and shoving on the track and in the garage, and he finished 38th. Trying to turn that around.
There's another one that got close, a 23 flat.
Yeah, really nice lap there. He made up a lot of time. He really got back in the throttle hard coming out of turn 4.
Excellent job, guys.
Stop number 2 on the 2008 NASCAR Chase for the Sprint Cup comes to the Big D, Dover, Delaware. Coverage presented by Principal Financial Group and begins at 1 o'clock Eastern Time with NASCAR Countdown. Alan Bestwick, Brad Daugherty, Rusty Wallace, all coming your way live on ABC. 400 laps, 400 miles on the track they call the Monster. Clint Boyer able to rebound last week for a 12th place finish at New Hampshire, but it still cost him 4 spots in the standings. He is back to 9th this week, trying to get his first ever top 10 finish at Dover.
He proved last week practice doesn't mean anything. He was the fastest in every practice session, and we really thought he was going to be the man to beat at New Hampshire, and turns out he wasn't, but still a pretty solid finish last week and a solid lap here. First lap, 6th quickest.
By the way, happy 48th birthday to Gil Martin, the crew chief there. Turned 48 yesterday. Also the same day that Will Lind had a birthday. The director of competition for Childress Racing at 54. 2 of the good ones here in the sport.
Unbelievable. You can watch that tracker right there. He was dead on top of everything. He must have had it wide open. What do you think?
Yeah, he only ran 0.02 of a second quicker the second lap, and that was almost identical. Jamie?
Well, Jeff Gordon down here pretty happy, and the whole team was pretty pumped up after that run. You already have 3 poles here. You know what it means to be fast around this place. What kind of things do you take from your qualifying run that, well, does it mean anything for Sunday?
Well, it means maybe I won't get blocked in the pits. You know, hopefully that'll hold up. Real proud of this DuPont Chevrolet team today. They have been on it all day. Last time we were here, we were fast in practice. We drew an early number. I think that hurt us. This time we got a good draw, took advantage of it. We'll see where it ends up. But wow, the car has just been driving unbelievable today. So very proud of this race team. We had a little bit of a tough weekend last weekend and a bit of a tough year. And things like this mean a lot to me and this entire team when we can pull these kind of days off.
Really tight pit road. You mentioned it. What is the ideal pit box here? Shall you get the pole?
There's only one pit box here. That's number 1. So that's why we focus on qualifying, why you know, this team works so hard on qualifying, and why I tried to lay down the best possible lap. I laid it all out there. We'll see. You know, we'll just wait and see.
All right, it's the waiting game, Doc.
Jeff Gordon blocked in the pits twice last week in New Hampshire, costing valuable spots coming off of pit road. He came back to finish 14th there. Brian Vickers on the clocks.
His first lap was good enough for 13th spot. Slowed down just a little bit on his second lap.
Dave Blaney, the 29th car to go out to qualify, clocks in 25th overall in his Bill Davis-owned Toyota. On the track, 2-time pole winner this year, Casey Kane. Gillette Evernham Dodge.
Well, they're going to be disappointed with that lap. That's 24th out of 29. He was 13th in practice, so these guys losing a little bit here for qualifying.
Here's Rowdy Bush, Kyle Busch, who we had that incredible misfortune last week and somehow held on to the race car after a couple of spins and bouncing it off the concrete a little bit. Broken Heim joint, dominated, led the 2nd most laps at this track in the spring to take the win. It was his 4th win of the year. He now has 8 coming back in.
The car looked really good through the corner there. He lost some time, though. Might have had to get out of the throttle just a little bit.
Yeah, well,
he's really hurting his back straightaway.
You see a dip right there, like off the corner. It makes you think that he had to probably get out of the throttle. And see the car gets a little loose off turn 4.
He was only 17th quickest in practice. That lap is 9th overall.
He's having to hustle the car to get that speed out of it.
But that's what he's good at, so you can see the car turn a little bit better that time in the center of the corner. See if
it's
it
kind of
translates
laying right
into
over.
speed. Yeah.
Last time he was in this car on concrete, it was back at Bristol when he led 415 of 500 laps. Right now, ninth overall. Jamie.
That certainly was domination. In that same race, we were talking about the big one, Denny Hamlin, one of those drivers who got the brunt of it last time we were here. Denny, how important is it for you to start up front because the big one at Dover?
I know firsthand it can happen, but you know, it's a great accomplishment for this whole FedEx Ground team. We really worked hard at qualifying today, and very happy with our outcome so far. No matter where we end up, it's going to be probably better than what we've qualified all year. So great job to everyone for working so hard, and you know, this is how we need to start off.
This team certainly turned things around the last month. Doc, they're sitting 6th in the points right now.
Great attitude by Denny Hamlin, that whole crew after the disappointment in Michigan. I think that has a lot to do with what's happened with that team, is the attitude he's had and the team has had. Here is Tony Stewart trying to get his first win, and in 2008 wants to start up front. We'll see how he does after one lap. He is 23rd.
He looked a little unsure of the car. It looks like it's probably loose getting in the corner, and he's afraid to turn the steering wheel. See how it gets a little bit loose off of turn 2.
I don't think this lap's going to be any better, and he struggled in practice. He was 36th quickest in the one practice session.
Well, he better get it figured out because I picked him to win this race. He better figure it out before tomorrow.
Finished 41st here in the spring. Well, again, involved in that 10-car melee early on. Needs to have a good top 10 finish here. Still looking for his first win after 4 runner-up finishes here in 2008. Mike.
And catching up with A.J. Allmendinger, one of the go or go home guys. I mean, obviously this is a very stressful time of the weekend for you. What do you have for qualifying?
I think we'll be okay. I mean, in practice we're just really loose, honestly. And you know, the Red Bull Toyota, it's fast if we can just get the rear of the race car in. So you know, I think trying to make the show, there's always a question, but I think we'll be okay. Just a smooth lap. But I really want to qualify top 15. It's important to start up front here.
Lots of chatter on the radio during practice. It looked like your team was thrashing trying to get that car prepared. What were you working on?
For us, I mean, we were just trying to get some rear grip. The thing was turning really good in the center. I mean, that's probably the best I've ever had here, turning the center, but just that forward bite off, just late in the throttle. So you're just trying to get the rear in the racetrack. This new right side tire, I think, is a lot more grip, but a little bit less balance in the rear, so we just got to get better.
And Doc, it's an important race for him to get in. He's still very much kind of in doubt right now. Told me before we went on during that interview that there's no new news regarding his future with Red Bull Racing.
Lots of speculation about what that team's going to do. They got Scott Speed waiting in the wings, been running full-time in ARCA. And I think A.J. Allmendinger, I'm a big A.J. Allmendinger fan for what he has done with such limited experience in the car. Kurt Busch, 3rd overall at the track where he made his Cup Series debut and had a great run back in 2000. Likes the racetrack. Here's a team that's really starting to come back after the run they had in New Hampshire with a new car a week ago.
Very impressive the last few weeks. These guys we know that they're building some new cars and doing some things different, and it's really paying off on the racetrack. They're qualifying better. They actually have speed in the car now, and I think that's the one thing that they've been lacking. And they've had a couple of good runs and a nice qualifying effort here.
This guy here's had speed all day today. He was quick in practice for the longest time, and then he wound up 3rd after they made all their qualifying mock runs.
45th time Mark Martin will start a NASCAR Sprint Cup race at Dover. 4 poles, 4 wins, 20 top 5s, and 27 top 10s, and he is a rocket out there.
Oh, he comes so close. He missed it by 1/1000th of a second.
Man, when it came off turn 2, I was getting ready to say, you know, he's not going to be close to the pole. He's going to be disappointed, but he missed it by 1/1000th of a second.
Awesome, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you for a killer race car. Can't believe we get so close and don't get her done, but man, thank you. I love driving your stuff, Tony.
And we love watching you drive that stuff, Mark, and we hope you will love what's coming up next, which is NASCAR Now, coming up next on ESPN2. And, of course, tomorrow, live flag-to-flag coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series here at Dover. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series happy hour at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. 10 o'clock tomorrow night, NHRA O'Reilly Auto Parts qualifying from Dallas. NASCAR Now will kick off our coverage at 10 a.m. on Sunday, and then live flag-to-flag coverage following NASCAR Countdown at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. NASCAR Sprint Cup action here on ABC.
How about Mark Martin? He loves that crew, doesn't he?
If you're a crew member, you got to really enjoy hearing someone like that. I mean, someone with the credentials that Mark Martin has, patting you on the back, saying, "I love driving your stuff."
It'll make you want to work hard and burn that midnight oil when you need to. You know, these guys will probably walk over hot coals for Mark Martin.
This guy last week impressed a lot of people, and I'm one of them. Kevin Harvick had a terrible race car when the day began. Very, very loose, dropped back to like 23rd or 4th position, and drove it all the way back for a top 10 finish.
That was encouraging that they can do that. It's hard to do, to get a car that's not good and turn it around in the middle of a race. He's not going to be real happy with this qualifying run, 21st so far.
Now, that's more of a struggle, I think, than they were expecting here. I think that Kevin came here expecting to get a good qualifying effort, which would allow them to get kind of a pit stall that they wanted and make it a little easier weekend. But they're going to have their hands full in trying to come from a mid-starting point on Sunday.
For you Kevin Harvick fans, this car he qualified 33rd with at California and still finished 4th. So he's been back there and come to the front with this one before. Here's Ryan Newman. Let's see what the Rocket Man can do. His teammate is currently 4th on the overall speed charts.
I don't know what he can do, but he sailed it off into turn 1. That thing stuck right there.
He gave it a shot to stick, didn't he? He said, "Okay, car, I'm going to drive you in here and see if you'll stick."
If it hadn't stuck, he'd have been in Newcastle right now. Just
it's not the lap that he's looking for, though. Certainly nothing like what Kurt Busch, his teammates, put up in the 4th spot. Ryan Newman 23rd right there at 23.27.
He's going to give it another lap here, see if he can improve on it. See, it's tracking over his first lap just about identical, but it's a little bit quicker maybe. Yeah, he moves up a couple spots here to 17th.
Those are the drivers that are locked in. When we come back in just a moment, we'll visit with Mark Martin about that incredible qualifying effort just a moment ago. Kyle Petty out for his qualifying run, just completed a moment ago. He won the very first race they ran here when they concreted the track. So Kyle clocking in 32nd of the 37 cars that have gone. He is the first of the 11 cars to have to get in on time and speed. Here's the 34 car. Chad Chaffin out to try to get this car in by qualifying time.
I believe that lap that Kyle Petty put down, which was a 23.49, I believe that should be good enough by what the practice speeds were. See Chad Chaffin struggling a little bit there. He's 36th at 23.71. Jamie, how about old man Mark Martin down there? What's he got to say about that lap?
They all call him that too, old man. We'll ask him about his lap, but I was looking at the stat book, DJ. This man has won poles here in 3 different decades. What does that mean to you, Mark?
I love this place. The first time I came here in 1981, I was like, whoa, this is cool. But I really want to give a shout out to all the guys at DEI, everybody at DEI, for building such incredible race cars. It's such a privilege to drive this stuff, and working with the U.S. Army, and Tony Gibson's a blast to work with. And we've got great horsepower, and I just should have gave it a little bit more gas right there, and we could have got us another one. But I'm really proud to drive their stuff.
Where'd you lose just that little fraction of a second your team was talking about?
Gosh, I'm not sure I lost anything. I think I gained the whole time I was out there. I really don't look at it like I lost anything. Jeff Gordon just went incredibly fast, and we didn't get it done. But it was a great run. What a great race car to drive, and I just have a blast coming to the racetrack and working with these guys with the 8 car.
This team was really fired up. They came up and said, just nipped us. They almost had it, Doc.
Jamie, I can't wait till Sunday. 2 of the fan favorites right now on the front row, and Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin. Here's Johnny Sauter trying to get the 08 in.
He's just trying to corral that car when it gets to the corner. He's definitely struggling with the handling here.
It is not going where he's wanting it to go for sure.
Slowest of the 38 cars that have gone out to qualify. He's going to need some other cars to go slower. 46 cars here, 3 will not make it. Right now he is in the will not make it category. I'll get it out in a moment.
Dale was talking about how fun it is to qualify at this racetrack. That did not look like fun to me.
I say, and I should have qualified that with when you have a pretty good car, it's fun to qualify. When it's not, it is bear, because you know that you have to go fast. You have to drive it off in there, and if it doesn't,
even if you don't know which way it's going.
That's exactly right.
They offer you a stopwatch or a blindfold, whichever you want. But Kenny Schrader in the 96 car And he's got his hands full in that car, and he did not have the best of mornings either here.
Yeah, they had a shock come loose or come apart and knocked that right front tire down, and right in the wall he went.
Yeah, the only good thing about that was he just had gone out onto the racetrack, so he wasn't totally up to speed and didn't do any more damage than that. But
it killed their practice time, though. They didn't get on the racetrack till very late in the practice. Yeah. And that's always a bummer.
But a pretty decent lap. He clocks in just behind Kyle Petty in 33rd at 23:51. He's already beat 2 of the 3 cars that he would have to beat to get in.
Well, when you need somebody that can get a car in a field when you have to, this is a guy to go to. He is so solid when it comes to qualifying.
See if he can pick it up just a little on his second lap. Now slows down 1/10 of a second.
I think he'll be okay with that still. I mean, he's outrun the two of the guys. Kyle Petty now locks in with that lap.
Kenny Schrader, last time he qualified the Hall of Fame car, he qualified 7th at Bristol on the concrete. Had a good run, ended up having some trouble in the pits, and still got a top 25 finish. He's the second fastest of the cars that'll have to make it on time and speed. Kenny trying to make his 726th career Sprint Cup start.
He must be old too. Yeah, that's call a Mark Martin an old man in jest. Obviously, I'm older than Mark is, but I'm not older than Kenny Schrader is.